Beautiful. All right. Thank you for joining today. All right. Now that we're situated. Okay, so you should be able to still hear me. We're outside today for practice just to bring in a new environment. Something that I'm doing this summer is doing yoga at various festivals, and a lot of them, almost all of them, are outdoor yoga festivals. So it's nice to also then bring our midday vinyasa outside to welcome not only awareness to self, but new awareness. So it's something to be able to bring your practice to new environments and be in these environments that you really don't have any control over. So as practice today, it's getting to welcome that. It's getting to learn how to be with yourself in your practice, be surrounded by maybe other people, traffic, animals, grassland, whatever you find yourself, and still then learn to welcome yourself to the present moment, find non-judgment in that practice, and hopefully through your day-to-day, and then be able to still welcome your meditation and practice to self inwardly, turning inwardly to deepen your breath, release any thought or judgment, and almost kind of allow for the dissipation of the outside noises and sounds and things to come into you while you're practicing. So even with this, we'll also be going through where I always encourage doing more so as I say, not so as I'm doing, because I take myself out of alignment for the practice so that you can hear me speak. Also, depending on what's going on in my area, I might have some movement or transition and or also to let others in to the class as we go through flow. So, you can be in a downward dog, or you might be in a Sukhasana, spinal twist, and or Vrksasana. And so I might have to go in the virtual studio and allow someone else to enter class, and you can still be within that pose or about to transition to your next pose. So as usual for the midday vinyasa, this is a 30-minute flow, a little breath work, a little meditation, and that time for self-awareness and self-care, self-love, gratitude, and then a little movement just to get you out of the norm. So you can adapt this practice and flow however you choose. So whether you're also doing it in an office in a chair, or if you take it standing, or maybe you just follow along and listen while you're outside, maybe walking around, enjoying some fresh air. So go ahead and get situated and find yourself in your space. As we start, you're more than welcome, if you are somewhere where you're not having to move and that you can be safe, you can close the eyes if you choose, or you have the option to find a hazy gaze, or maybe your vision just kind of starts to focus on something in front of you, or take it low down to the floor, or maybe whatever is below you, a mat or cover or desk even. And then start to welcome awareness to your breath. By this, I just mean start to pay attention to your breathing. Your natural breathing, your inhales and exhales as they are, whether that's inhales and exhales through the nose or inhales and exhales through the mouth. Just becoming aware of your breath. Letting it know that you're here, you're in awareness, and by bringing awareness to your breath, you're also welcoming yourself to your present space and time. Now, as you're coming into awareness and focus with that breath, you may start to lengthen the spine, coming into good posture, allowing the shoulders to move away from the ears. If you're sitting like me in Sukhasana, you may then also engage in your core, and sitting in Sukhasana, it's a gentle way to start to open up the hips. Your hands can be, in the lap or on thighs, palms facing up. It's up to you. And notice maybe any little changes at all within the breathing. Does it feel any different than when we started? Can you feel where it hits in the body? Can you feel your breath in your chest, your belly, your back, your shoulders? And we're going to move into some oceanic breathing. So as you're finding your breath and you're lengthening your spine, you're growing tall, or maybe you're walking with it, you're going to allow the tip of your tongue to raise towards the top of your mouth, just behind the two front teeth, or where the two front teeth would lay. And start to bring even more deeper awareness to your breaths. So your inhales and your exhales, keeping the mouth closed. So with keeping the mouth closed, you're going to be inhaling and exhaling both through the nose. And you'll start to build up bigger, longer breaths. So breathing in through the nose, the mouth stays closed. The top tip of the tongue is at the root of the mouth behind the big teeth. And your inhales are going to become longer, fully deeper, and your exhales are going to become longer, fuller, and also releasing. Not so much deeper, I guess. Give you some time to focus on that. Try it out with maybe the eyes closed or the eyes calm. Now, as you are going to start releasing from your oceanic breath, you're going to allow the tongue to calm, allow the jaw to calm and release if it's feeling tight or tense. Then you'll slowly allow yourself to return to natural breathing. So now maybe you move from the oceanic breathing, the deep inhales and exhales only coming from the nose and the nostrils, to now maybe your inhales are entering through the nose and exiting through the mouth. Or maybe you're inhaling and exhaling through the mouth as you transition back to your natural breathing. So together we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to go into physical movement. Now, as I mentioned, I may not do all the moves. I may just talk you through them. So as we get started, first we're going to allow ourselves to enter into Sukhasana, our cross-seated legs pose. The hands will be face down, hands covering over the knees. The elbows can be soft at sides. And together we'll start by taking a big, long, deep inhale through the nose, and we'll hold it. And then when we can no longer hold it anymore, we'll exhale through the mouth. So go ahead. Deep inhale, hold it as long as you can. Then when ready, deep exhale through the mouth. We'll go ahead and do that 2 more times. Inhale, then exhale, then inhale. One more last exhale. Maybe allow a gentle smile to come over the face. How does that feel? Then when ready, we'll start to bring awareness into the arms. So on your next inhale, you're going to take the arms out through sides. You're going to raise them up to ceiling and sky. You're going to lengthen through the spine once again. Inhale deeper, twist, exhale, heated spinal twist. Release and come back to center. Once again, extend the hands out to sides, raising up to ceiling and sky. Inhale nice and deep. When ready to exhale, take it the opposite direction. And returning to center, we're going to go ahead this time and swoop the arms forward. We're going to raise them up towards the sky. The vision can follow if you choose. Lengthen on the inhale. Palms are going to face forward out in front of you. Exhale, you're going to forward fold. So here in your forward fold, if you are in a seated chair, you might find that your arms then are folding over your lower body, maybe hands connecting down towards the grass. And if you are seated in Sukhasana, then you're going to focus on lengthening the hands and palms and arms away from the body. The tail, no matter how or where you find yourself, is going to, as much as it may, remain seated, connected to seat or mat or ground. And you're going to think of this gentle pulling away from the body. So your tail is pulling in one direction, and then your fingertips or body and spine are lengthening and kind of gently kind of tugging the opposite direction. Just remembering to stretch, not strain. You're going to stay within this pose for about 5 breaths. So take your time. I'm going to make sure if someone else needs to get in, I can let them in. All right, so go ahead and take final breaths in this pose and position. So you're really lengthening, those arms are long. And you may feel this nice kind of navigation and pull and lengthening or wiggle on the sides or in the lower back as you lengthen and release. And really allow your final breath in this pose to really just let everything go. So you're inhaling, you're exhaling, release any straining, release any of the pull and tug, and just allow your muscles to relax as you envision just all the stress exiting out of the body through the exhale. And then when ready, you'll slowly and gently roll back up to spine. You'll roll the shoulders back and maybe bring back and welcome that gentle smile. Right. Then we'll go ahead. We're going to allow ourselves to transition from our Sukhasana seated pose into a tabletop position. So you can go ahead and allow the feet and the knees to kick out behind you. You're going to raise up and lift up on the hands and knees, all fours. Palms are nice and aligned underneath the shoulders. The knees are aligned underneath the hips. And here in your tabletop, if you're seated, there's a different method you could do here, but if you're on mat, you're just going to welcome some cats and some cows on the mat. So your cows, you're dropping the belly, your crown and tail are lining up as you inhale. And when you're ready to exhale, you're going to pull that belly button into spine. You're going to round your back. You're going to maybe move away from the shoulders and arms and exhale and continue to move through those cows and cats. This is a wonderful way to massage the internal organs, to welcome awareness to the core. You're building that core strength gently because you're still keeping that core engaged. You're not just letting the belly fall and sit. You're really keeping it engaged as you move through your cows and cats. And if you're seated, you would just transition from moving the belly towards ground and the back to sky to forward and backwards. So for your cows, maybe the hands are still on the lap or you're in seat and you're inhaling and everything's coming forward, the chest is lifting, and then as you're exhaling into cat, you're still rounding that back and the arms are maybe rounding out away from you. So take your time finding that movement, connecting with your breath. And then when you're ready, you'll go ahead, you'll pause, welcome that last exhalation in cat, then allow yourself to return to neutrality at center. And then we're going to welcome some center circles or some crescent moons into the practice. So some crescent moons are side to sides. So your head is going to tilt the opposite direction that your side is leaning out towards. That's going to give you some new awareness in the body. And once again, if you're on all fours, you're taking the tail and the crown the same direction opposite of the side. If you are in seat, you are then just kind of rocking side to side as you see me doing in the video. Breathing, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling when you connect through center, exhaling as you tip or lean towards one direction or the other. And at any time you would like to return to cats and cows, we'd like to find some hip circles or some body circles for additional release. If at your body's request, please go ahead and do so. So just finding that movement, welcoming it out through the body. If you're on all fours, same thing. And really be mindful of your breath as you move through. And you can take your time. You don't have to rush it. There's no worry. You are now enjoying this practice for self, this stretch. find those last crescent moves. And we always got to at least get in 1 or 2 downward dogs to really get that full body stretch. So when you're ready, you'll return to center, and then you're going to welcome yourself into your downward dog. Once again, if you are on mat, your downward dog is going to consist of you return to that tabletop position, your hands go out a little bit forward, your feet are connected, and you could slowly start to raise the tail and guide into your V, your upside down V or downward dog pose. If you are seated, you might be wondering, how do I do a downward dog in seat? Wonderful question. So if you were seated, you could focus on the upper body arms, where you're just maybe if you have a wall or you have a desk in front of you, you lengthen and stretch and press away into that wall or desk. And then you start to almost curve the back just a bit to allow a deeper stretch through the spine and shoulders and arms. You also have that option to, if you have a seat next to you, or if you slowly may raise up to standing and take any other additional stretches if you need there. Then you have that option, of course, to take the traditional downward dog with hands connected to floor. Be mindful of movement so that you don't get anything blood flow rushing. Or you could still then take the arms out in front of you and stretch and lengthen away from the wall or desk if you're doing this in standing position. Or in my restorative chair yoga classes, we'll take it where we have the one chair that we're seated in. We have one in front of us, hands go down on the seat of the second chair, and we find our downward dog in that position. So there are plenty of ways to adapt your downward dog. I hope you're still finding your movement, your grace, your stillness in it to stretch and breathe. And then, of course, when you are ready, release out of your downward dog at your body's request and make your way into Balasana child's pose. If you're doing Balasana child's pose, you can have the desk, you can take the arms resting and place the forehead down on them, or you can take the arms long and just drop the head. If you are on mat, then your Balasana may be more traditional. You come down from your downward dog, you can have your knees hip width apart, or you can take a mat width apart, and you lengthen the arms once again and start to find yourself coming down into your Balasana. You have the option to keep the heels up. It's going to put a little stretch on the toes, or you have the option to allow the feet to go flat. We're going to take another 5 breaths in the Balasana. So that's really going to allow you to lengthen for a bit the arms and fingertips away from the body, as the tail wants to stay grounded or rest over the backs of heels and feet. Take your time finding your breath in this pose and position, lengthening, releasing, and eventually as you get to that 5th breath and maybe take a couple bonus, then you can make it more relaxed. So going from that thought process of stretch to release and relax, maybe then the arms come in closer, the forehead finds rest on the forearms or the mat underneath you or lap, and your tail allows itself to soften. So moving once again, that awareness of the body, getting into that tightness and tension, grabbing it with the breath and releasing it, letting it go. The muscles soften, they open, they release, and allows you to get further in your practice. It allows that heart rate to slow for just a moment, releases stress, anxiety, tension. And if you let your smile get away, allowing that gentle smile to return to face to allow the eyelids to soften and relax and de-stress themselves. Then when ready, gently rise from your Balasana chair pose, or your Balasana child's pose. You're going to go ahead and find yourself and make your way to your shins, or maybe you're making your way back to seated if you're taking this as an adaptive practice. You're going to go ahead and allow yourself then to rise. We're going to raise the arms up. We're going for another stretch. We're going to welcome a back bend into the practice. And then return to center, palms connect, lower back down to shins, prayer Anjali Mudra at heart. Then once again, when ready, check in with blood flow. Now it's moving back from head to body. You're going to inhale and lift up once again. You're also using your core to lift as you lift up onto those shins. The arms go high once again. Back bend. Return to center. This time we're going to inhale, exhale, arms go out to sides as you lower into another variation of a spinal twist. Then you're gonna go ahead, once again, release. One last time, we're gonna take the arms nice and high. You're gonna back bend, maybe you get a little bit further than you did in the last one. Then you return, arms are gonna go down, spinal twist the opposite side. You're gonna return to center, release. The hands are gonna come out in front of you. You're gonna take the feet out to one side. You're gonna kick them out in front of you to find a staff pose. So you're releasing out, your feet are now out in front of you. You're gonna find a staff pose. So your toes are gonna flex up towards ceiling or sky. Your hands are gonna come to sides. So then you have your Tadasana staff pose. You're gonna press the palms at sides down into mat or floor or into the seat. You're going to lengthen up, that tail's gonna grow long. It might even lift off the ground as you press. This is a wonderful arm strengthener. Shoulders move away from the ears. Breathe, lengthen, then release. Gonna go ahead and find a seated forward fold before we find our meditative practice. We're always thinking about lengthening through the spine, elongating the back, getting a little stretch and release from being maybe stiff or stuck or sitting all day. This is wonderful practice and stretch for the spine to release any of that stagnant energy, get it moving again, promote kind of greasing up the bones here and all of our little pieces and puzzles in the body, pieces and parts. So find that seated forward fold. You can take your time here. You could creep into it if you choose, where the hands just kind of make their way down to the ankles or feet, or you have that option once again to take the arms high, exhale, release. Do what you may, do as you please, as you find breath. If you feel any strain or stress in the spine, go ahead and then release that by just resetting. So you're going to reset possibly where you lengthen and rise. Take a breath, and then you can creep into or fall forward into your seated forward fold once again. And when you feel ready, when you feel good, stay in your seated forward fold as long as you would like. Find those inhales and exhales. Now, when you feel ready to release, you could join me once again. We will end as we began in our Sukhasana position and pose. You could even, if you choose to keep the legs out in front of you, that is fine also. You have that option. I'm just here to guide the way. So if you prefer to keep the legs out long, give them a little break, let them relax, or you find yourself in your seat once again, by all means, go ahead and do such. Or like I said, you have that option to find Sukhasana or any other seated pose that's going to help you. For me, I've been working on a lot of hip openers. I keep very tight hips and I do a lot of driving. So for me, it's like always did it this way. So it's nice to kind of mix it up here, and I can feel that stretch, a little bit of stretch, no straining though. It's not strenuous, just kind of opening up my hips. I breathe through it, finding that release in this hip opener. And so this is my, I guess, ending asana of choice for the practice today. But we find ourselves in our space once again. Option to close the eyes if you are somewhere where you feel safe and secure. Or you can take the eyes low. Especially if you're outdoors, you kind of start to notice all the little flowers, little bugs and things in the grass, which can be a delight. And start to welcome stillness back into the body again. Just taking 3 breaths or so. Feel the body soften. You can start to allow the belly, the back, the shoulders, the spine to soften, the legs to soften, the toes, the hands. Start to allow whatever sounds are around you to come back into your atmosphere, welcoming them back into awareness with every breath. Welcome a smile upon the face. You can stay in stillness, or if you'd like, you join me for some gentle head circles in one direction. Then find a pause when ready and take your head circles the opposite direction. Then find stillness and ready. Allow the head to pass through center and welcome chin to chest. Then take the head and start to tilt it back, eyes towards sky or ceiling, or they could be closed, of course. Pass through center once again, take an ear to shoulder, but allow the shoulders to stay restful this time so you don't have to lift it up. Then take it to the opposite side. And back to center. Together, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna extend the arms out their sides, raise them up to sky, vision to follow. Deep inhale. Exhale as they come down to heart, Anjali and Mudra. Thank you for joining me for this midday vinyasa practice. I hope to see you next time and that this flow leads you into the rest of your day with light, peace, smiles, and love. Namaste. So take care and thank you for joining me for class today. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be sending out some updates for future classes. I believe this was the last session on the list, but we have a whole summer to go of beautiful outdoor environments and nature. We also then have the beautiful fall to come, where hopefully we'll still get to hang out in nature. If you would like to join me for a live class or consult one-on-one, just to talk about wellness, natural living, and awareness, you can go ahead and you can reach out to me. Instagram is best, TM at Carmina Smiles, or you can go ahead to the website, carminasmiles.com, and schedule something with me. You can also register through a lot of events through bio link. So really just hitting up that website, carminasmiles.com, you'll find more information. And I'll also send that out in a newsletter soon. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful, beautiful atmosphere with me. Take care and I'll see you next week.